You did mention a word that my ears pricked up because I love creative terminology for things that aren't that well defined. Everyone hears about mindset. We know of growth mindset. We know of having the killer mindset, all these sort of things. But you use the word Heartset, which is different. Obviously a different word just firstly, but I assume it means something different than mindset to you. Can you explain that to us?
Yeah. So if you look at your mindset, that's your positive attitude, your confidence that you may have. It maybe involves knowing that you have other people on your team. You're looking at the benefits of what you're going to do. You're driven. And then there's skill set, your ability to know your processes and know your tools and technologies. Even if you look at what we're doing today, we talk about our microphone. I got some nice lighting. We're in this new virtual environment. If you're in sports, how much have you practiced and know the game? But Heartset is more about that passion that we talk about in the beginning, that commitment that's married to your passion. It's about being willing to do whatever it takes to accomplish your dream, and what inspires you, not what keeps you up at night, which is fear-based. Like a lot of people are saying, well, what keeps you up at night? No, that's a fear-based question. I want to know what gets you out of bed. I want to know what drives you to say, I'm ready to take on the day, mass and make things happen, right?
Love that.
And so that's aligned with Heartset. So it's not what keeps you up at night. That's as important as what gets you out of bed. So we need to start focusing on more courage-based thinking and passion-based thinking, which subjugates or sublimates the negativity that's inherent in fear-based thinking. So if you're going up to bat or flying a jet saying, oh, I'm going to get my butt shot down today, if you're going up to that, you're 0 for 4, and you've got to start thinking, what do I need to do? I got to start focusing on that win, envisioning it, and the passion and drive and the exhilaration that you feel when you kick ass, when you accomplish the goal, when you fly the mission, take out the target, hit the home run. That's what gets you out of bed.
Love it. That really ties back to that idea of willingness that you mentioned at the start, because this is an exercise that I use semi-regularly, and with an NFL Pro Bowl cornerback, with a college baseball player, I will sometimes share something that I call a willingness contract, where it's like, hey, on my path towards becoming an All-Pro, or on my path towards getting drafted, here's what I'm willing to put up with. I am willing to be embarrassed. I am willing to feel like shit. I am willing to be super scared. All of these things are going to happen because, and this exercise was born out of a conversation with a football player who talked about, when I make a mistake, within 1 or 2 thoughts, I'm thinking about Twitter, and I shouldn't have to think about Twitter and all these people trolling me. I'm like, well, that's cool. We can make that go away if you quit football. But if you want to play football professionally, you're going to have people on Twitter talk about you. They aren't inseparable. And so do you want to play football bad enough that you'll be willing to take the bad shit from Twitter? And when you reframe it like that, it's about what do you want to move towards more rather than get away from more. You put it in much better words. The Heartset is not what keeps you up at night, but what gets you up in the morning. I absolutely love that. And I will tell you right now, I'm going to steal it. I'm going to use it. I will quote you on that though. And in this next story, this question probably digs into exactly where that came from for you. Often I'll ask people that, how do you define toughness? What does it look like in your area? But in particular, then it becomes, well, how did you learn about that? And I think this is going to be a more pointed question for you than others, because part of your backstory is you dealt with a crippling phobia that should have stopped you from doing your job. If anyone has been, I mean, hell, I just traveled in a jet airline across the country the other day, and I always feel claustrophobic just sitting in my seat. And this is commercial. I'm not allowed to be in the Air Force because I'm too big to get into one of those cockpits that you used to fly in. And so those are closed spaces. But you had an incident during your career involving, you can explain a little more, but it gave you claustrophobia. And in order to continue doing what you love, you had to face your fear or almost use it as a co-pilot. Like it wasn't going away. You had to do something about it. Can you share that story with the listeners?
Yes. And you're dealing with how to adapt to stress, adapt to change. So long story short, I was an instructor pilot in the Air Force first, and then I evolved into the F-16. I got better and grew and then competed to get into the F-16. But 3 years into my 11-year active duty flying career, everything was going great for me. And I went scuba diving in the Caribbean with some buddies of mine. Never been before. Thought, how hard could it be? Just give me a mask, put on a tank and just fly, swim through the water. But needless to say, 5 minutes into the water, I was wishing I paid more attention to the mission briefing, right? Because I'm flailing like an idiot, improper technique, not using my legs, and then the lactic acid's building up, Suddenly I can't move, start freaking out. My body aches from head to toe. My mask inadvertently separates. I inhale a whole lung full of burning salt water, felt like my lungs were going to explode, and then had something called a panic attack, right? And I'm like, I thought I was going to die. No combat mission could even come close to that day. And I got out of the water and said, I'm never doing that again. A few days later, I'm back in the cockpit flying a training mission. The weather was terrible. Couldn't see the sun, the ground. We were socked into the clouds. And then I basically had the same panic attack that I had a few days prior.
And you never had that before?
Never had it before. I'm like, where the heck is this coming from? I freaked out. I thought there was something wrong with the oxygen as I became hypoxic and dizzy, but there was everything wrong with me. And so I became claustrophobic. Probably not the best thing for a pilot to have. And so it was basically post-traumatic stress disorder that didn't happen as a result of flying in combat. It happened as a result of almost dying a few days prior, and it reared its ugly head in the cockpit. And so for the next 8 years of my 11-year active duty flying career, almost 3,000 hours of flight time, every single time I strapped into this plane, I had to deal with this fear, this phobia, this stress that tested my mental toughness in doing what I wanted to do more than anything else, which was to fly. And so my passion had to be greater than my fear. My focus on the outcome or on being present, on flying that jet, on taking care of my team had to outweigh the focus on the fear. And so there's a lot that we can chat about here, but for those that are listening, things may be going great in your life. Business is great. Sports are going great. I'm doing well. And now I'm in a bad streak. I'm having some failures. Some test results are going to pop up in my life. I'm going to have a divorce, a failure, issues with my kids or whatever. And you're going to be tested. And that testing, your ability to deal with the stress and fly through it, will determine the resilience, your courage, your growth, and how you're able to handle that fear, deal with your stress, and come out the other side stronger and better and more prepared. And so part of my secret weapon was focusing on not the outcome, i.e., if somebody's going to make a tweet about me or embarrass myself in front of my fans or my teammates, but just stay present, stay in the moment. And by doing what I'm going to share with you, by distracting yourself from yourself, you can stay in the moment. And here's how we can do that. And then I'll let you take over. What helped me was, sure, my passion, my dream, my goal was important. But when the fear became intense and the panic ensued, I'd look out to my teammates, those folks who I was flying with, and got focused on them. I got focused on my teammates. I got focused on the fact that they needed me. And if you're a parent listening to this, if you have someone in your life that you love, if you're willing to totally distract yourself from yourself by loving them, by sacrificing for them, you're no longer worried about your fear. You're worried about taking care of them and doing your job. And you're like, man, responsibility, that and then that honor that's incumbent with the responsibility, the fact that others need you to perform, man, you'll go through the rigors of life and the trials and tribulations and the hell that I went through because you realize that others need you more. And that helped me through this big time.
And I assume that's an element of, amazing story. Again, a bunch of goosebumps as we went through that. I assume that the thing that you learned there, to look at other people when you're getting overwhelmed by fear, to think about who else you're in this with and for, that really led to I think the title of your book, Never Fly Solo. I assume that's really a core element of it, right?
Roger that. Yeah. Just knowing that you have people that you can call out Mayday to. Knowing that you have others there to take care of yourself. Number one, yourself, that I mentioned before. But hey, if the proverbial shit hits the fan, who's going to be there for me? Have I nurtured those relationships? Do they trust me? Do I trust them? Now I could be more confident and present, doing the job, knowing if a potential mistake happens or a threat comes my way. Hey, now I got teammates to back me up. And even more above this is where leadership comes in. The sense of responsibility that you have, knowing that I've got to take care of my teammates because somebody may need me.
Yeah.
And that's what separates a follower and a leader. The leader says, I want to be the one responsible. I want to be the one that others are dependent on. I want to be put in that environment because I'm telling you, Patty, and for the folks listening, when I was a wingman flying on the wing of my flight lead in combat, I was much more scared than when I was flying as the lead because I was focused on that fear, wondering if I'd mess up, if I'd stay in position. When I was leading, the fear wasn't as important as my responsibility to take care of my teammates. I was distracted by the fear. I was distracted by helping them, getting out of my head. And so, sure, I was like, shit, when I came back, I'm like, if I messed up, it would be me and my wingman's lives on the line. But in the moment of flying, I was not focused on my fear because I was focused on my teammate. Thus, I was less fearful. Yeah. It's all psychological. As you well know, Patty, this is what you're an expert in. And so you got to do what you need to do to distract yourself from this devil in your head, the mind, which is our best friend and our biggest enemy, by outsourcing some of your accountability to your teammates and focusing on them. And then I call it thinking outside the cockpit. Get out of your head, focus on the team, focus on the target, focus on the enemy, taking it out. Don't focus on the devil in your head and the fake fear, which is often the case because sometimes that fears aren't even real.